Alright, enough pissing about. We need to get this series wrapped up before Christmas, really, realistically. So, hello and welcome back to Gothic 2, where we are stepping into the shoes of the Dragon Hunter once again. And in fact, I think the last time we left off, I was not a Dragon Hunter when we did this, so welcome to being a Dragon Hunter. There's a lot to go over, and I hope I remember it all. So, one of the things I want to do before we get into this is to show what each of the other two factions, how I basically deal with the dragon fights. They're all pretty much the same. Unfortunately, I don't really have any realistic way to deal with these encounters without some kind of ad, whether it's an NPC following us. We have the convenience of
so much for you, filthy
Cypher and Rod to help us with the Swamp Dragon, but he's the easiest one, so we need to make do with Biff for two of them, and a Demon Scroll for the Stone Dragon, because he's the only one Biff cannot reach. So,
so much for you.
In those regards, it's basically identical to how we deal with it with the mage. The only difference is you're going to notice with both the Paladin and the Dragon Hunter that I am using the Claw of Beliar weapon. One thing I want to go over with these is, I'm pretty sure I mentioned how it works before. It's since the mage only gets access to the Claw of Beliar as a rune, what happens is the mage has access to different spells as we get into later chapters. But changing the rune at that point doesn't cost us much of anything. The way it works as a melee weapon is that once you've gone to the Shrine of Beliar and actually prayed to improve it, it will reconfigure itself to whichever of the two melee categories you have a higher skill at. So, if you have higher skill in two-handed weapons, it'll become a two-handed weapon. It's as simple as that. And the nice thing is that it will do that every time you level up, essentially. I should have looked this up before I started recording, but I don't remember exactly what levels, how many levels you need to acquire before it'll let you change it again. I thought it was every 2 levels, but it doesn't seem to be that. It might be every 4 levels, or it might actually be dependent on a specific level cap. But the thing is that is actually cumulative. So if you don't bother upgrading it for X amount of levels, it will perform all of the upgrades at once. The reason that's significant is that it will also include the cost of all of those levels at once. So if you waited 4 opportunities to upgrade it, it will be the cost of all 4 of those upgrades all at once. And the cost is paid in hit points. So, if you're at a dearth of hit points, which we really are not at this point, I don't find the cost to be anything substantial, it will collect all those at once. So if you missed 4 upgrade categories, or excuse me, if you missed 4 upgrade tiers, and then you go to the shrine to upgrade it, it's going to take 20 hit points all at once, as opposed to 5. But you get all the upgrade associated with it. So, it's not the end of the world if you miss an upgrade. Just bear in mind that there's basically no way to cheat the system, nor any way to be cheated. Which is actually kind of a surprise, considering all the ways in which you can actually be screwed out of bonuses in this game. But, long story short, this is why this weapon I consider to be the most broken thing in the game. Essentially, I don't think that any melee build does itself any favors by not using this weapon. I know some people just don't. Some people seem to think it's no good. But really, to me, it breaks the game, because there's no weapon that is as good as this. Considering it has no strength requirement. The extra damage it does completely ignores any kind of defenses, so there's almost no circumstance where this won't be the most powerful weapon in the game and exceed anything in terms of DPS, even if you don't have a whole lot of strength. Like, I use this on the Paladin character, who I have very little investment, in melee skills at all, and almost none into strength.
I'm starting to get
And he still kicks ass with this weapon. I basically go toe-to-toe with 4 orcs at once, and he just wipes the floor with them.
You're worth it.
So to me, this weapon is just completely broken. It is unfortunate as a mage that we don't have access to it, because it will always default to a spell, even though the spells are useful. But if you want to be one of those hybrid mage melee type of fighters, this weapon would absolutely excel for that kind of setup. But we don't have access to it without cheats. So that just be how it is. Anyway, one of the things I'm ashamed that I missed, the Swamp Dragon has different dialogue for the Dragon Hunter, because it actually introduces the unique Dragon Hunter side quests in this game. So that's a bit unfortunate that I kind of skipped over that. And I don't have everything committed to memory, but there are a lot of things I wish I had shown or had not glossed over, because I was in a hurry to catch these 2 guilds up so I could at least show something. But unfortunately, I'll probably mention now and again things I wish I had actually gone over. One of the things I wanted to mention is that the Dragon Hunters have 2 ways to acquire the second tier, the medium Dragon Hunter armor. Both of them require dragon scales that you get from killing the dragons, and both of them require 20 dragon scales. So, ostensibly, you would need to kill 2 dragons in order to get it. However, with Bennett, there's a bit of an exploit, and as I said, I don't usually use exploits. I may demonstrate them for people who just want to know what they are. I don't usually use exploits when I do the walkthrough, but for whatever reason, I can't even really rationalize this now, other than just me being impatient. I ended up using this exploit to get the armor a little bit early. So what you do is that Bennett will actually pay for the dragon scales. The alternative is to give them to Jan, the smith that you can convince Garan to hire in the Valley of Mines in the castle. He will take them from you, but he will not pay you for them. And he's also not a merchant. Bennett, on the other hand, will pay for them, and is also a merchant, and for whatever reason, the scales get added to his merchant inventory. So what you can do is give him the 12 scales you get from the Swamp Dragon, buy them back for the same price that he pays for them, so there's no loss whatsoever, and then give them to him again. And that will count as giving him over 20. You'll get the same amount of money in the end, but it'll end up giving you access to the medium Dragon Hunter armor 1 dragon early. So that's why you'll notice when encountering the next dragons, I actually possess that armor when I shouldn't have. But long story short, we need somebody to pull aggro, and with the Dragon Hunter, that's a bit difficult. Because at least as a bow user, which I was doing on the Paladin run, you can keep shooting at the dragon, and whoever you have as a follower will keep engaging them in melee, and you can essentially just slow down your shots if you're pulling aggro too much. The thing that you always have to watch out for, and I know my friend Vana and my friend Ludabox have both mentioned that the dragon's regeneration rate, HP regen, is related to the frame rate that the game is running at. It basically explains why it's so random, because as you pan the camera around, the frame rate drifts wildly. So you can use that to your advantage if you want. Use something like fraps or whatever to limit the frame rate so that the dragons are a bit more manageable. I've never really tested that, so I have no idea how effective that is and whether or not that's enough to allow you to engage the dragons solo. Might be possible, but at the end of the day, it's to me just another exploit, just to cover for the fact that Piranhabytes have some really shoddy programming in this game. But anyway, that's the sum of it. I'm going to show all 4 dragon fights as I go over this, so you can rewatch those to kind of get pointers on how I do these encounters. the important thing to take away from this, in my opinion, is the fact that, I don't know how, but I ran into a serious bug when I tried to demonstrate my usual little cheat of beating up Biff to get the money back for however much money you paid him to follow along. I don't know why, but the money in his inventory glitched out, and when I tried to loot it, it caused my money to glitch out, and I ended up having negative money. So, I encountered this before, and what ended up happening is after Biff got up, he actually asked for... No, so this was in a weird situation where I had him... He agreed to half of whatever I looted. And I think I mentioned before, when he asks for when you give him these terms, he's going to demand half of any money that you get in your inventory as you go on. So whether you get that as a reward, or you loot it from corpses, or you open up a leather satchel, he will demand half of whatever enters your inventory. So when you loot him and get that money back, he will demand half of it. Since his money glitched out, and I think that might actually be related to giving him these terms, something with a script messes up the money in his inventory. When you try to loot it back, he will demand half of it and put you in the negative. So that caused a problem, and I ended up having to reload and fight the dragon a few more times. Just kind of demonstrating how difficult this fight is if you don't have perfect circumstances. But at the end of the day, that's just that's part of the learning process. So one of the workarounds I found is that if you loot his if you loot the money from him individually instead of trying to take it all at once, you can actually get it all. But when I looked at it, I realized there's no way he actually had 30-something thousand gold over the course of our adventures. So I realized that was still glitched out, and I didn't feel that it was reasonable to take that much money back from him. So unfortunately, I just had to end up letting him live and take the money, and I'm about to regret that because we're actually really short on cash as we get into this Dragon Hunter run. And that's going to hurt us for a little while, but we'll make do. Anyway, let's get back to the live action content.
I used to say that myself.
So, we're going to retread some of the ground that the mage playthrough went through. Just because there are some slight differences doing this as a...
Don't say you didn't know that.
Well, as the other guilds. So first things first, we gotta go check in with Lester as Zardasses. You know, notice right off the back, there's a surprise squadron of lizard men here. Luckily, Lester is considered an essential NPC, and wow, he's kicking ass. He's actually stealing our XP. He didn't do that last time.
Well done.
Wow!
One dirty beast left.
Man, last time he didn't even, put a dent in these things. In my test recording, so that's kind of annoying. So, these guys are actually related to a side quest that we get as a dragon hunter, which I'm going to get into in a little bit. So, ignore them for now.
Where's Zarda?
We've been through all this in the mage playthrough, so I don't much care. But before we go any further, or before we go on to the monastery, that is, I want to head this way. Basically, I'm going to... Man, do I want to do this in this order? Yeah, kinda. I think it's all the same. So, unfortunately, there's basically a quest that I kind of, buggered up. I guess we already dealt with, the Seeker here, or maybe we just didn't show up. Wow. Oh yeah, that's one of the things I want... Oh god, my throat! One of the things I wanted to mention about the Clawed Beliar here. One of the weird quirks about its extra damage, since it's not based on skill, and the damage it does is not based on any stats. They have a weird kind of workaround for all this kind of shit. And what you'll notice is that enemies that backpedal seem to take a lot of extra damage from this. So it's quite bizarre. For some reason, enemies with a backpedal animation tend to proc the extra damage from that lightning bolt attack, which I don't think we've shown before. I haven't really gone over this too well. But yeah, that lightning bolt attack, which we've seen when Raven was smacking us with it, is the extra damage that we see in the description here. So chance of extra damage 40. It always does an extra 100 damage, and it ignores armor. Any kind of defense. So when that happens, it's always going to deal an extra 100 damage, regardless of whether or not you scored a critical hit, regardless of the damage that you can deal normally in the normal damage calculation. That 100 damage is independently determined and applied. So, for some reason, when enemies backpedal while you're striking them, they tend to proc it almost 100% of the time. And certain enemies with a long backpedal animation, like golems, for some reason, just get annihilated by it. So this weapon just makes an absolute joke out of golems. You can see it in, I think, some of the videos I recorded where I was wiping out golems here and there. Hey, let's kill this bastard. They get wrecked by it. Human enemies don't seem to tend to proc it as much. But I don't really know what to make of that. Golems hilariously just get one shot by this weapon almost unanimously. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, my friend Ludabox, who tells me all of the little secrets of this game, including why I almost got annihilated by that guy there, is that I mentioned that the spells, the fireball spells that the Seekers use, are not the same one that we get. And it turns out they actually have 3 different versions of it that they start upgrading over the course of the remaining chapters of the game. So at this point, we're facing their most threatening version of it. Oh, old corn dog, I forgot you were here. So they all have different names like Death Ball, Death Bolt, and shit like that. Even though it looks like a fireball, that's why it's doing so much more damage. So the idea, of course, was to make the Seekers remain a persistent threat throughout the rest of the game. But they didn't level up their hit points or armor or anything, just a spell that they use. So while they may deal a lot of hurt, we can also put them down before they even land a hit most of the time. So anyway, let's move on to the monastery.
That the key. What the key? The bait, but this do not fall.
We
I eat that cannot be.
Alright, that's all the same. The only reason we're going through this is that it gets us to... I just mentally think of it as Chapter 5.5. Because Chapter 5 can be really short, and so many things unlock once you do this whole bit with the monastery cellar, that I kind of interpret it as a major flag for so many things to progress to a pseudo Chapter 6. So, as you know, all we need to do, pick up the book, get the key out of it. Alright, we need to read Zardas' letter first, so we know how to open the book.
Zarek Bundardo. Ah, the book's open. There's a letter and a key hidden inside.
Something about the way the hero does these internal remarks as he reads the documents as part of this quest always bugged me. Like, I wonder if the voice actor really talks to himself that way. It's kind of hilarious. Something about the way his voice is so delicate, it cracks a lot. Oh, it's really weird. Excuse me. So, skeletons are of no consequence really anymore. I was gonna kick their ass for XP's sake. Obviously, we're still concerned if they, hello. If the skeleton mage up ahead were to freeze our ass leave us vulnerable to these guys beating the snot out of us. It is kind of funny that I kind of get to this point where I don't really care about taking damage. That's the one luxury of two-handed weapons. Is that because they can deal so much more damage, they frequently one-shot everything, so you don't really have to worry about the fact that you're so much less defensive. The biggest problem I have is the fact that the parry and backpedal animations are so shit. And you notice how this thing, enemies tend to back up a lot when you're trying to block, so you have to really time your blocks as well as you can. And it's difficult with the two-handed weapons because the block animation recovery is so slow. So I find it difficult, since enemies tend to do 2 attacks in a row, I find it difficult to block both of them. If you time it just right, it tends to be fine. And same thing with the backpedal animation, where you can time it just right to avoid... well, to really get the AI to respond the way you want, but it's so much more fickle than it is with one-handed weapons, in my opinion. And the difference in damage just does not justify it. So while you can absolutely deal more damage per hit with two-handed weapons, I still generally prefer one-handed, just for how much more defensive capability you have. So, one of the things I mentioned in the mage bit 2 episodes ago is that there's an exploit you can do with this door to make sure that none of the enemies beyond it spawn. So what you do is, as the door opening animation happens, you pull out your weapon before it finishes, like so. That's a bit too early. You need to open it enough that you can get through it. Like so. So as we go on through, because that scowl sound from the dragons, that groan sound from the demons didn't happen, none of them spawned. You know, somebody mentioned on my Discord recently that these faces all around the walls and everything, they have some like folkloric history in the real world. Well, I'm curious where these assets actually came from, particularly these ones. Nope, not there. These ones here, these weird little gremlins on the wall. The very bizarre imagery for what should be a holy monastery. Obviously we've determined that these cellars were only known about by Zardos, which vaguely implies that he actually was dabbling in the dark arts before he even got to the colony. So, whether that's a retcon or sort of a revelation of sorts, I guess, is up to us to determine. So, by doing that, we get 3 Skelemons. Another thing to note is that the extra damage from the Claw of Beliar can proc through the block and dodge animations of enemies. So you notice that one didn't take a direct hit, but he took the extra damage anyway. Another thing is that it doesn't instantly kill if they're in the middle of an animation. So that's why you'll notice enemies continue a strafe animation or a block animation and often come out of it even with no health left. Even after you got the XP for killing them, they can still land a couple hits because something weird about the hit detection hasn't told their AI that they're dead yet. It's quite strange. But anywho, we need to kill these demons. And basically the best way is get them in the doorway here. It's troublesome because we can't target him. Alright. You want to get the lock on before you get them to the doorway, which I did not manage to do. Because once they're in the doorway, you can't really target them anymore. So it's problematic because obviously this asshole is just constantly swinging. We can just barely outrange him. So we can try to use that to our advantage. I actually haven't checked. I'm sure it does, but I haven't checked to see if the one-handed and two-handed version of this weapon have different ranges. But I'm quite sure they do, because the model size is significantly bigger on the two-handed version. So, here we have the Tears of Inos, and Zardos' old book, and the sea chart. I would like to know...
So that's where you're hiding out. Damn far away. I'll need a ship to get there.
I don't remember if we heard that line. A lot of these lines don't seem to trigger properly when I play. But if Zardos knew where the halls of Irdrath were, I don't know why he didn't seem to think that it was a threat worth bringing up until now. I'm sure he just kind of wanted to tackle things one at a time. Obviously, when we were stuck inside the barrier, he wanted to take on the Sleeper first. Once he knew the dragons showed up after the fact, he wanted to deal with those. But I don't know why he wouldn't have... If he really planned this out, why he wouldn't have brought up the Halls of Irdrath until now. So, the only line in this diary that changes depending on your faction is the last one. So I've studied the ancient writings, have found out how to create the legendary weapon of the Dragon Lords. However, I have no idea how to obtain the ingredients. I have entered the recipe in the almanac just in case. Who knows what terrors the future may bring, maybe even dragons. So that's a reference to what we obviously just encountered. This almanac changes because we are a dragon hunter. We learn how to make the ultimate dragon weapons. But on top of that, we also learn how to make armor even better. Sorry, I was still reading that. To make an armor of dragon scales as hard as possible, the scales may be coated with the ore mined in the valley on the Isle of Karinis. Note, Karinis probably refers to what is now known as Korinus. 5 vials of dragon blood can give the steel unequal sharpness and strength. So, that's one of the things I kind of overlooked. That we needed dragon blood in order to make the ultimate ore weapons, which are only available to dragon hunters, and we learn how to make them from... Well, I don't think we need to learn how to make them. If we know how to make basic weapons, which I do, I think we can just make them ourselves. But I have not been collecting dragon blood, so there's no way to get it at this point. We need 5 vials, and they obviously only come from dragons, and there's only one to be looted in the entire game, which is one of Greg's treasures. So we're basically not going to get it, but if you want to see the stats, they show up here. As I've said, I don't believe in those weapons because the Claw of Beliar breaks the game, so I'm just going to use that for the rest of the game.
I've been, and what did there was wished.
It's all the same, just wanted the XP, and obviously our chat with Pyrocar will amount to the same thing, so see you after that happens.
Don't talk nonsense. We're not that giving.
So I actually have tested this. The XP you get, whether you tell Pyrocar the truth or not, is the same. So it's irrelevant which choice you make.
I know where to find the halls, but where
you've
been through all this, and actually the dialogue with the Tears of Inos is the same. But there's an important caveat with that.
Tears of
I found
that cannot.
What's the matter? Hard.
Do not. Let the
So again, if you want to hear that dialogue, just go back to the episode 48. But one of the important things that Pyrocar says is that the draft can only be drunk. Dick drunk drinking a dish. Where's the dish that Dick drunk drinking? Can only be drank by fire mages. Any other user will find his death in it. And we burn to death. Dragon hunters are in fact the only faction that cannot use the Tears of Inos in any way. I will discuss in the Paladin episode how they can actually utilize it, because they can't drink it the same way the mages can, but they actually have a function for it. Unfortunately, I realize in hindsight that I kind of buggered that by getting rid of one of the items I need, but we'll make do.
Hey, I heard you.
Been through all this, we can hire Melty as a crew member.
We should get.
Actually, it's not a bad idea just for the XP to get your crew together now, but that's not something I plan on doing. Obviously, with a Dragon Hunter, it's irrelevant. Honestly, after this... we don't need that. After this episode, I don't think there'll be another Dragon Hunter episode, because there's not much that changes for the rest of the game. I will probably show one scene where dialogues are different, but ostensibly they're the same. But otherwise, the next thing we want to do as a Dragon Hunter is head to the landowner. Because at the end of the day, we still were a mercenary, and we still kind of are, so we got more business to do here. But first, I will be right back.
You should really have known better.
I wouldn't be so sure.
I'm not telling you anything new.
Well, Gorn, surprised to see you here again.
Are you relaxed?
Sure, why not? The dragons are dead, aren't they?
The case is a little more complicated.
Well, like always. Let me know when you need my axe.
Is it really?
Well, your axe isn't much good without you behind it.
I could use you and your axe.
Well, I'm not surprised. What can I do for you?
Would you sail to an island with me and kick some enemy butt?
Sure, right away. Just tell me what to do.
He doesn't even know how.
Come aboard with me. Wait for me at the harbor.
A ship? I can say one thing for you. It's never boring with you. See you
I
soon.
agree with you completely.
So this is the weird part. When you get your crew together, no matter where they come from, they all just end up at the harbor waiting for you.
He doesn't even know how to hold
Again, we're going to go through all that in detail with the mage playthrough, since that's the main playthrough. But, well, you got an early glimpse of that, so there's your sneak preview.
Nobody will learn.
The lizard people are distributing dragon eggs all over the country.
I might have known. It's time we got out of here.
So what am I supposed to do with them?
Smash them. What else? Maybe the shells can be used for making armor or something like that. They look pretty stable. Talk to Bennett about it.
Interesting idea.
Do you have an idea how I could take over the Paladin ship?
Do you think I'd still be here if I did? That thing is better guarded than the ore transports were in the old camp.
There must be a way to get on that ship.
Sure, getting on board is easy. I have a forged letter of authorization here. With that, the ship's guards will let you pass. But that isn't everything. To navigate the ship, you need a captain, a crew, and so on. There's a whole string of requirements involved.
Do you know anyone who can navigate the ship?
As far as I know, Torloff used to go to sea. He knows what's what.
Who should I hire as a crew?
You'll have to decide that for yourself, but I would only take people that I trust. Do you have enough people you can trust? If you need a smith in your crew, you should ask Bennett. He is certainly the best you'll find.
Nobody will learn anything from me.
Would you accompany me on the ship?
Are you kidding? Of course I'm in. I have a few old scores to settle on the mainland. Besides, I could teach you one- and two-handed combat. I could be very useful to you.
I'll let you know if I can use you.
You must know what you want, but you can never have enough good fighters around, unless they're utter morons like Silvio.
That's actually a line I've never heard before.
Really didn't deserve that.
I want to steal the ship.
And how is that supposed to happen?
Piece of cake. I go there, show them your papers, and take the ship.
If you say so. Here, I hope you know what you're doing.
So this is actually weird to me, because I don't normally do it in this order. I've never seen this before. Ship bill. Document entitles the bearer to move freely on Lord Hagen's Royal War Galley and to guide the ship for an unlimited time period. I would like to know how you intend that to get past anybody. I have no idea how you got the Royal Seal. I assume you had it at one point in your role as the Kingdom's lead general.
That's been known a long
I don't know how it didn't get confiscated from you, and I don't like to imagine where you kept it. But normally, there's a whole extra bit involved with that. That is actually a side quest that only the dragon hunters can get.
This is me anymore.
He really didn't.
When did I last save? Yeah, good enough. So, essentially, let's get melty again. Essentially, there's a real way we're supposed to be able to get the ship. And it's related to an optional side quest. And apparently, I didn't realize how optional that side quest was. I actually thought, as a dragon hunter,
Wait a minute.
we had to do it. So, that's interesting to me. It's just another one of those things. I've never done it a different way, so I did not know that there was an alternative. Or maybe I did it once at one point and was like, oh, that's interesting, but I want to do the side quest anyway, so I just got used to doing it that way. So we're going to do the side quest. We'll get Gorn's XP.
Well,
Would you?
It's a bad business.
But we're going to do this. First of all, we'll go through this again.
What's happened in the meantime?
Silvio the bastard has heard about the dragons in the Valley of Mines and has made everyone here on the farm totally crazy about it. He's tried to convince the boys to follow him to the Valley of Mines. He's promised them fame, honor, gold, and all sorts of things. A lot of them have no interest in getting killed for Silvio, but there were quite a few idiots who fell for his drivel. The end of the story is that they got outfitted by Bennett and then set off. Basically, I'm glad that Silvio is finally gone from the farm.
So that's a generic line he just throws out there, but it's a bit of flavor.
About it differently.
Don't you have anything else for me to do?
You can't get enough, You're in plenty of trouble as it is. What else do you want then?
Another assignment. I'm a mercenary, remember?
All right, I've got something. It's just the thing for you. I have a debt to settle with the judge in town. I'd actually prefer to do it myself. But the paladins wouldn't let me within a stone's throw of his house. The thing has to be handled with a bit of consideration, so pay attention. You'll go to the judge and offer him your services. You'll try to win his trust and carry out some dirty work for him until you find something to incriminate him.
Nobody will learn anything.
The
from
swine has done so many dirty jobs that it stinks to high heaven. Bring me something I can use to blacken his name with the militia, so that he spends the rest of his life molding in the slammer. But I don't want you to kill him. That would be too quick. I want him to suffer, understand? Do you think you can do that?
Can't believe that.
Shame there's no mining colony to send him to anymore.
Tell me you didn't know that.
No problem. How much?
Your reward depends on what you bring me, so make an effort.
All that matters is
So, this is basically supposed to be our proper ticket, and we'll see the dialogue that changes once we do this, as far as getting the access to the ship. While we're here, we'll do what Lee suggested and see what Bennett can make of this egg.
Hey! Is there anything you can do with dragon eggs?
Dragon eggs? How the heck did you come by these?
I took them from some lizard people.
Let me see. Very sturdy material. Ideal for finishing armor. If one can manage to get them open, that is.
What about it then? Do you want it?
Sure, give it here. I'll pay you, say, 300 gold coins for each egg you can bring me.
These are dragon eggs, not paltry chicken eggs.
All right, 350 it is, but I can't give you more than that, or it just won't pay for me. You have to step in and sort things out.
It's a deal.
All right. Then keep those things coming if you can get them. You say you took it from the lizard people?
Right.
Most lizard people dwell in caves, as far as I know.
How the hell would you know
It wouldn't
that?
surprise me if you found more of these things in the caves around here. Here, take this map. It'll help you find the caves.
Caves, then.
Got my own opinion about that.
So he gave us a new map, the Caves of Corinus. And this indicates every single cave in this part of the island.
That for me.
Not every single one of these caves will have lizard people, but most of them will, and it's worth checking them all out. So what's going to happen is the end of this episode is kind of going to be a speed run, not really a speed run, but just a fast forward of me going through all these caves, because there's not going to be enough time in this episode to get that all done. Basically, we're going to find that the eggs, even though they discussed using the eggs for armor, are not required, because as we learned, all you need to do is coat the dragon scales in magic ore in order to get the armor, which is the best armor we're going to get. The dragon eggs are sort of an open-ended quest equivalent to the possessed people that the mages deal with. It never actually ends, even when you get all the dragon eggs that are available. So it's just something we do for a shitload of money, which we're going to have to do because we don't have nearly enough money to get the Dragon Hunter armor, as we're about to see.
I know how the armor can be improved even further.
Tell me then.
You could coat the dragon scales with magic ore.
That thought has already occurred to me too, and you're right. My newest armor beats everything you've ever seen. It's lightweight yet sturdy. It is perfect. You can buy it if you want. I don't make this offer to just anybody, and the price only just covers the manufacturing costs.
So, because it gets cut off here, we don't know what it is. It's 20,000 gold, so we're less than halfway there. I think I mentioned in Gothic 1 how the concept of an ore that makes lightweight armor, yet heavy-duty weapons, doesn't really add up, because essentially with weapons, you want something with enough mass that can actually deal damage and deliver a hefty blow. But to make lightweight armor, obviously you want something that's strong, yet not terribly dense. Which I guess in reality, I don't think any material like that really exists. Obviously we use stuff like aluminum because it's lightweight, has good like tensile strength, but I'm no metallurgist. I think aluminum doesn't have good like compression strength, so it wouldn't make good armor, even though it makes good, say, aircraft hulls and that kind of shit. But at any rate, no magic metal could really do that without defying any terrestrial laws of physics that we know of. Let's see.
What with?
We need a red hot iron.
You.
I don't know what it takes to make. Oh yeah, it takes the frickin'. I think I already showed you, or I haven't yet because it's still live. But I will have shown you what the one-handed and two-handed Dragon Hunter weapons look like. And again, no matter what, even though this is well behind in terms of damage, as far as I'm concerned, it always defeats it, because its maximum damage output at this point would be 214 damage. And this is only going to get better as we improve it. Alright, we'll give them that. So basically, we're not going to get the heavy Dragon Hunter armor until probably I do some of these dragon eggs, because we need them for the money. Alright, one thing I want to go, or a couple things I want to go over. We're about to do the Lee's quest to incriminate the judge. I don't remember if we met the judge. Can't remember if we met the judge as the mage. But even if I retread some old ground there, we'll discuss the judge when we find him. But first, I want to show you something. Another one of the things that I missed in kind of my bum rush to get the Paladin Dragon Hunter caught up is that the Dragon Hunters get a unique quest from Buster here. What we do is we get Shadow Beast horns for him. He essentially pays us full list price for the Shadow Beast horns, which we don't actually have one right now.
Things I could tell you.
But the interesting thing with that is, much like the exploit with the dragon scales from Bennett,
That was obvious all along.
I don't know if Bennett drops his dragon scales if you were to, like, beat him up, which I'm pretty sure you can't, because he's flagged as an essential NPC, so he doesn't lose health.
Just gossip.
Buster, meanwhile, we can beat his ass to the ground, take all of the Shadow Beast horns that we gave him, and sell them back to him. And in addition to money, you actually get XP for that. So Buster is,
Never would have thought of that
for
myself.
dragon hunters / mercenaries, an infinite source of XP. Oh, you shouldn't have come strolling in my neighborhood, fool. Sorry, I'm at that point where,
Now you shall be.
like a dog that sees other dogs walking through its neighborhood. I can't let these guys go unmolested. But anyway, unfortunately, we've reached a point with Buster where, well, I need to get a dragon hunter, a Shadow Beast horn in order to demonstrate. But basically, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll cheat. Because we're not actually going to get anything out of this. Insert it at Shadow Horn. So if we try to deliver one of these to Buster,
My city merchant has made his farewells.
What is that supposed to mean?
He's dead. You can keep the horns. I wouldn't know what to do with them now.
so that's a shame. Whoever he was selling these to bent his bitter end. Since we cheated for this, we'll just drop it off here. So yeah, basically, once you get to Chapter 5, apparently that quest is unavailable. So bear that in mind, ye dragon hunters who want to make a lot of money from him. Make sure before you kill all the dragons that you give him all your Shadow Beast horns. Because alas, we can do no more with them.
Hey,
One thing we've been missing out on.
show me how I can hit harder.
Right. Pay attention. His decision. There's a simple trick. When you hit, don't take strength from your arm, but from your entire body. Turn your hip. Bring your shoulder to the front and stretch out your arm at the same time. Can't rely on that. If you hit right, you'll notice the difference.
We sure will. So that's a one-time bonus of 1 strength. That's what we get for giving him the 3 old stone tablets. Wapkatow.
We have caught you in our trap, and now we shall destroy you.
You caught me in your trap, you poor bastard. Yeah, it is just... It never ceases to be amusing to me how much I avoid the Seekers in Chapter 3. By Chapter 5, I almost relish encountering them. Because they are a joke. Alright, so bear in mind as you run around that all of these caves that we are so used to running past are now going to be lousy with these dragon boys, lizard boys. For some reason these ones are really like offset. They're all the way down there. Aren't they? What happened to them? What happened to them? I thought they were always chilling there. Or, ooh, experiment time. These ones actually spawned in by Akil over here. Because he does mention them.
Hey, you! Did anything else happen?
They've also spotted plenty of lizard people in this area. I wouldn't go into the caves if I were you.
Didn't see any frame rate dip that usually indicates something spawned in. I was sure that... Whoa. Sure that some showed up down here. Are they inside the cave? I thought they were like all soaring about the place. Alright, interesting. Could have sworn I saw some here, but I guess this cave is omitted. It be that way sometimes. What else do I want to do? Oh yeah, we need to speak with the Judicator.
Hey, you!
He can't keep anything to himself. Honestly, Tommy's got myself. So that's not what I heard.
I never knew that. Did you pick that up then? It never changed.
So you didn't know that.
I never knew that.
I knew that would be a problem.
It's a bad business.
I'm not touching that.
I'll back off myself.
Don't say you didn't know that.
I'm not telling you anything new.
It can't go on like this forever.
That's not what I heard.
It was just like you said.
You listen to the wrong people.
Why get so worked up?
I agree with you completely.
Sometimes you should listen to me.
You listen to the wrong people.
You didn't get that from me.
There's nothing we can do about it.
It was quite obvious.
It's really not my problem.
It was quite obvious.
He never would have thought of that himself.
There you.
I've got
A wolf, good one.
nothing surprises me anymore.
I don't believe this is gonna change.
I agree with you completely. Nothing amazes me anymore.
Same old thing all over again.
Go away, don't tell me that.
Same old thing all over again.
Everybody knows by now.
I'm in enough trouble as it is.
And he works all day
He
too.
wants to know.
It was just like you said.
And he works all day
Been
too.
there, done that.
Can't keep anything to
It was quite obvious.
That isn't true.
Chaos deals out fair punishment.
That's not what I heard.
That's no secret.
Alright, so if we didn't actually talk to this dude as a mage, well, a good long look at this lazy-eyed weirdo, and you'll probably know where we've seen him before.
In the name of King Robar II, bearer of the scepter of Verant, I sentence this convict.
Spare me the rest of his nonsense.
How dare you?
Keep silent. Right.
But anyway,
How's it going?
You'd better scram, you filthy mercenary, before I call the guards.
Relax. I'm not here to steal from you. I'm looking for work.
Ah, so you want to work for me?
That is, of course, a different matter. There is, alas, one minor problem. I don't know whether I can trust you. You'll have to prove your loyalty first.
Put me to the test.
All right. Listen. Bring me the sacred hammer of the Magicians of Fire. They keep it somewhere in the basement of their monastery. If you pull that off, I might think about hiring you as a bodyguard.
I would like to know how stealing precious, priceless spiritual treasures somehow qualifies us as a bodyguard. And also, if you're trying to prove that we have some loyalty, don't you think you want to start small rather than stealing artifacts from not only the biggest religious institution on this island, but also the highest institution of the law on this island?
Fine. But remember, if they catch you, I've never heard of you.
I suppose as long as you didn't put it in writing, there's always the plausible deniability. Luckily, we've been hanging on to exactly what we need for this. And it is much the same as how we dealt with this issue as a fire mage. This is one of those things that I've always kind of kicked myself, because I can never remember when I first did this quest whether or not I figured out on my own that we needed the hammer, the sacred hammer, in order to kill the stone sentinel as part of our trial of magic. Or trial of fire. I don't know. I'm kind of ashamed to admit that I don't know if I had to look up a walkthrough to be able to deal with that way back in the day. When I was about... Let's see, this game came out in 2003 in the States, I think, so I would have been 12 years old. Oh boy, I am old. That scares me. So, we got the goods. I don't know why I unequipped the runes. Teleport runes on this character when I don't use runes otherwise. I have a hammer with which you may hammer in the morning.
Here's the sacred hammer of the magicians.
I'm truly impressed. You're really serious about this, aren't you? Here's your pay. Fine. If that's how it is, I have another task for you already. Some days ago, several prisoners escaped from the local jail. Those bastards have taken off to the mountains.
Some bitches.
Somewhere in the direction of Zardas' new tower. The name of their leader is Morgahard. I want you to kill him. Go! Hurry before they're gone for good.
So, even you know about Zardas' new tower, which granted Zardas is kind of vacated at this point. But it really goes to show how Zardas is terrible at keeping his tower a secret from the people around here. Probably doesn't help that you can fucking see it from right here. Blends in a little bit, but those spikes are somewhat unmistakable.
You hardly know who to believe these days.
Anyway, we gotta head that direction, so... see you momentarily. Well, that's interesting. What are these orcs squatting on Lobarto's farm for? Just a heads up, there's 6 orcs here, so we want to be careful about how many we attract at once. Balls. Not sure what the hell you're stuck on. You know what? There's something else I should have done while we were on Akil's farm, because it's another quest I kind of broke.
Nothing to be had there.
By unintentionally starting it off screen while I was just grinding for XP. But it does ostensibly kind of conclude on this farm. So I'll just show you the way I broke it rather than the way you're supposed to do it. Hey, Lobarto. So you got a new herd of orcs. Not sure how you plan on raising those as livestock.
You've got an orc problem.
Damn it, doesn't the stress ever end? If this goes on, my farm won't be worth 3 gold coins.
The interesting thing is that, Malith over here is the only one of the farmers who doesn't really abandon his post. I guess he's very committed to his duty. I guess we've done his quest, because he has the walking stick. I don't remember actually doing it.
Hey, you!
But it's been so long. There's a lot of stuff I don't remember. But you'll notice that everybody else stays away, and, well, if you were to rest until the morning and Malith comes walking out here, he's liable to aggro the orcs walking back to the pasture there, so be mindful of that.
Any news?
Soon, we'll have to give up the farm and join you mercenaries on Onar's farm, I'm afraid. Unfortunately, the militia found my still. I just hope they won't catch me.
So, that bit about the still is what I mentioned as being the quest I kind of broke. By, unfortunately, clearing that bit of the quest early. Not really a big deal, it's not really much of a quest, but it does show up in the quest log, and I messed it up. So you see what I mean about how when they die from the lightning bolt, their AI doesn't seem to get the memo right away. So they'll often take
nothing to plunder.
Up to 2 additional actions before actually dropping dead.
I got rid of the orcs on your land.
Thank Enos, I can't give you much, but I hope you'll appreciate my gesture of gratitude.
Watch out for your farm.
I'll try.
Try better. You haven't been doing that well. But, anyway, I'm glad that I assume I did on screen, I'm glad I dealt with Malith's side quest here. Because, oh boy, these fellers. These guys aren't actually guarding any specific cave here, because, well, the cave that Corndog is hiding in obviously wasn't populated with any of them. So, I guess they kind of seem to plop up some of these dragon men, lizard men, just in the general direction of some of the quavers, some of the caves that they are hiding out in. Yeah, I should check the stats of these. Holy smokes, I'm dying. Some of the stats of these lizard men, because I think, ow. I don't know about melee damage, but they definitely have less, arrow... Holy shit, I'm almost dead. Less arrow resistance than the average orc warrior. Because they go down with fewer arrows, but I don't know if they are a curious case of having more strength and less defense across the board. I guess I'll plop up their creature cards side by side here. Yeah, it's interesting how Hilda never gets sick when we're a dragon hunter. Oh god, I'm stifled. Forgot about that. Luckily I have one of these to hand. Oh my. What did we do last night? So we don't get a clear indication on where Morgahard and his men fled. We know they fled in this direction, and this is the only real hideout on the way, so wouldn't you know it, here they are. And, well, he's not doing it this time, but I caught on camera where this fugitive lying in bed here wasn't exactly lying in bed there.
You haven't come to take us back to jail, have you?
You aren't making a strong case to stop me.
Hey!
You better stay away from me if you don't want to land in jail.
Where is Morgahard, your leader?
We split up, so we wouldn't get caught so quickly. No idea where the others are.
I'm not planning on ratting on you.
If the judge sent you, then you can tell him from us that he can get stuffed.
So what's your crime?
That's none of your business.
Too bad. Then I guess I'll have to get the judge.
Okay. I suppose some of us have made off to the tavern, but you didn't hear that from me, okay?
Didn't I? Hi. To the tavern, eh?
Nobody wants to know.
Well, we're the only suspicious men here wearing leather
You
armor.
haven't come to take us back to jail, have you?
I don't know why they have they have these useless guys in the background who have just one line. They have the same voice for it. You also have the shrinking head when you eat? You sure do.
Couldn't get away with that.
Cavallorn's long-lost white brother from another mother.
What do you want from me?
I've got no time for things like that.
Where is Morgahard, your leader?
I don't want any trouble. You go to the landowner. He wanted to hide himself with the mercenaries, and now leave me alone. Nothing you can do about it.
Well, you were very forthcoming with that, so let's head there. Well, here's two folks I haven't seen before.
Forget it. I'm not going back to jail.
Hey, you have a different line. I don't know why you're leading with that. I never accused you of nothing.
Hey. You are Morgahard.
How come you know my name?
The judge is looking for you. You fled from his jail.
It's not
What'd
his
you do?
jail.
Steal his wallet?
Not his. The governor's. And on his behalf, too. Well, after we attacked the governor, he didn't want to share the booty with us. And had us arrested. We didn't want to wind up on the gallows. So we fled. We thought they'd never catch us that way. That seems to have been a mistake.
It usually is. I mean, escape attempts usually just make you a fugitive and they don't forget about you.
What can we do against the judge?
Nothing at all. He sits up there in the upper end of town like a spider in his web. Untouchable.
I wouldn't say that. We'd only need some proof of his guilt in the matter concerning the governor.
Proof, you say? I have that. But who'd listen to a convicted criminal?
Give me your proof, and I'll see to it that no one will hunt you again.
Are you sure? All right. Here, take this letter. It bears the judge's signature. Even if it doesn't change my guilt, it should be enough to confirm that he was an accomplice in the business.
I would just like to point out, and I feel like it's a kind of a running theme with all the quests in Chapter 5 here. I guess they're what Yahtzee Croshaw would call an idiot plot, which is that they only make sense if everyone's an idiot. And just how many things don't really make sense when you put them together. In this case, why would the judge hire thugs to mug the governor? Is that really the best way he thinks he can flaunt his authority to make ill-begotten gains? Like, does he not have better ways to fleece people for money? Of all things, you're just gonna send 6 guys to beat up the governor in the middle of town and just deliver you the contents of his wallet. And not only that, but you're gonna deliver it in writing with your signature. And you have it very clearly here that you don't care if he survives the process. Like, this judge has to be the stupidest man alive. I can't believe he hasn't been gotten anything until now. It's unfathomable. This whole conspiracy relies on the idea that everyone here, not only is a judge so stupid as to concoct this scheme, but everyone involved in it is too stupid to know that they can rake him over the coals with it until we came along.
I found something to incriminate the judge.
Really? What is it?
He hired a few thugs to mug the governor of Corinus. Shortly afterwards, he had them arrested and pocketed all the gold. I brought you the written order the judge gave those thugs as evidence.
Show me.
How did you pick that up then?
At last! That should be enough to make him bleed. I'm impressed. I'm willing to shell out quite a bit for that. Here's your reward. And not a word about this to anyone. Got it?
I hardly know what to believe
So,
anymore.
this... I should double check this before I say this, because as usual I don't double check things, and sometimes I'm wrong. But these are the only 2 quests we get related to the judge from Lee. So when he says, wait until you have something truly incriminating, this is the only thing that qualifies, because when he sends us to steal the Sacred Hammer of Innos, there's nothing in writing, so there's nothing we can do with that to incriminate him, so we have no choice but to follow through with it. Then we get this in writing, and if we instead return that letter to the judge and kill Morgahard or something, we essentially fail out this quest. So I guess that's why they gave us a caveat that Lee has an alternative method for us to get to commandeer the ship. Because if we fuck this up, then we need something. Otherwise, we soft-locked our game. You know, I was looking at this last time. Not last time, but off-screen. And only just, like, almost 20 years later, almost just noticed that there's a chain on this, what I thought was a flag. And I didn't understand what it was. Then I realized it's a window shutter. And I've only just now looked inside and realized that the windows on the inside and outside don't line up. Piranha Bytes, get your shit together. Does the one upstairs line up? I doubt it.
Is it really true? All that matters is strength. So don't tell me that.
I already thought as much.
I don't think it does.
I've gone about it differently.
No, because there's 2 up here. And there's only 1 downstairs. Look at these. These are windows looking over nothing. There's a roof above here.
I've got my own opinion about that.
Look at that. There's nothing those windows can be looking into. Piranha Bytes. There's no windows there. What are you doing?
Tell me that isn't.
Get your architecture straight. My God.
I'm no better off myself.
Anyway, let's hear this line.
Do you have an idea how I could take over the Paladin ship?
Do you think I'd still be here if I did? That thing is better guarded than the ore transports were in the old camp.
There must be a way to get on that ship.
Sure, getting on board is easy. After all, we have the judge in our power. You should go to him and squeeze a letter of authorization for the ship out of him. But that isn't everything. To navigate the ship, you need a captain, a crew, and so on. There's a whole string of requirements involved.
Do you know?
We heard all this. So basically, that's what he says, is that having done this, we have the judge buy his little shriveled up balls, so we can extort him for permission to commandeer the ship. And I'm not sure any of that truly matters, because when we encounter this with the other 2 guilds, we don't need any proof or written authority to take the ship. We just say, hey, we're taking the fucking ship. And the whole deal is that Lord Hagen's supposed to have fucked off and left so few men to defend it. But in reality, as we're about to see, that Lord Hagen never actually makes it out of the city, and none of these men go with him. So our opportunity never really arises to take the ship. But the game doesn't really stop us from doing that. Anyway, let's shake down the judge and then we'll call it a night, because this episode has gotten quite girthy. But given that this is the ostensibly the finale for Dragon Hunters specifically, yes, it makes sense as a bit of a longer one.
Give me a written authorization for the Paladin ship.
You've got to be out of your mind. What do you want me to do?
You heard me all right. Give me that authorization or I'll turn you into the militia.
I shall not be blackmailed, least of all by you. I shall feed you to the wolves, you miserable piece of scum.
Morgahard assaulted the governor by your order. I am in possession of a document which can prove it.
You'll be sorry for this. No one blackmails me and gets away with it. Here's your authorization. Now leave. I shall deal with you later.
Apparently, nothing ever comes of your threat, my friend, because we make it to Gothic 3 and you're never mentioned again. And neither are about 90% of the characters, so... Same ship's bill that we get from Lee. So yeah, Lee's, if we don't do this quest, then Lee giving us that ship's bill is basically the cop-out. It be how it is, I guess. Anyway, that'll do it for the Dragon Hunters, so what you're gonna see for the rest of this episode is basically me fast-forwarding through getting all of the dragon eggs from the caves and the bits and bobs of Bennett's dialogue from that, and we'll end up getting the Super Dragon Hunter armor. There's not really much else to show for the Dragon Hunters, because for the rest of the game, everything's basically the same. I will investigate whether or not there's additional dialogues that we get throughout the rest of the game, but I don't think there are, so... that being the case, the next episode is going to be all of the same shit again. What differs playing as the Paladin, so that's probably going to be a shorter episode, honestly. But it's got a similar quest to the Dragon Eggs as this does, just with its own, its own theme, so we'll see how that turns out. And otherwise, have yourselves a wonderful week. Hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and,
He didn't get that from me.
well...
I'd have gone about it differently.
Boy, my brain took a nap there for a second. Until next time, have yourselves a wonderful night, and we'll see you later. Oh. What am I supposed to say?
They listen to me.
Don't forget to follow on Twitch if you want to see live stream shenanigans every weekend. And link to my Discord in the description as well if you want to hang out there for idle banter and whatever. Otherwise, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.
Damn it. Get out of my bed.
Nothing there. Has anything happened in the meantime?
My wife has disappeared. At first I didn't notice it at all, and suddenly she was gone. I suspect she fled to the woods to get away from the field raider. Do me a favor, if you find her, bring her back to me safe and sound.
What are you doing here in the wilderness?
I couldn't take it anymore on Sekob's farm. Sekob threw one hissy fit after another. In the end, one couldn't talk to him at all. All he would do was yell. I must get away from here, but I don't know where to turn. Interested in a little deal?
What can you offer me?
What do you want?
I'll get you out of here. I'll bring you to the landowner's farm.
I'll never forget what you did for me. I'll pay you, of course. You go first. We'll follow.
I'm bringing back your wife.
That's wonderful. Here, take this for your trouble.
Hey, you! See? Now you're home again.
You are the worst piece of dung I've met in my life, you filthy swine.
Hey, you! Keep your chin up.
Go jump in the lake. I'll find my own way from here. Thank you. I don't know what I would have done without you. Please accept. Take care.